Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a look at another one of the updates in the Season 19 balance patch, and that is counter being given to Lokix. This is a huge improvement for Lokix. Lokix goes from two of the worst fast moves in the game, Bug Bite and Sucker Punch, to the best fast move in the game in counter. So this is obviously going to be a massive improvement, but the question is, how much of an improvement will it be? Lokix's stats are not the greatest. It's a bug and dark type Pokemon, and your choice of charge attacks, X-Scissor, Dark Pulse, and Trailblaze. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's take a look at the newly buffed Lokix in action in the Open Great League. Tough start in the first match, leading Lokix into a Azumarill. I'm going to save switch into Shadow Quagsire. I decided to try the X-Scissor and Dark Pulse variant, so I decided to not run Trailblaze. I was thinking Dark Pulse and X-Scissor both getting same type attack bonus will really allow Lokix to take advantage of its high attack stat and really output some nice same type attack bonus damage. And with the nerf to Whiscash, I'm definitely expecting Shadow Quagsire is going to be overtaking that role, so we are running Shadow Quagsire on the save switch, as its energy is hyper flexible, basically against anything that is not named Poliwrath. Azumarill is going to be able to win the Zero Shield, but not by much, and this just sets up farm for Lokix. Lokix able to get a very nice farm down. Opponent now sends in Skarmory. I'm going to bank a move, send in Emolga, and in the back, it's going to be Sableye. I'm farming up to the Acrobatics, firing off the Discharge. Acrobatics would inflict massive damage to the Sableye, so Sableye is going to commit the shield. Sableye overfarms, and they play to a CMP tie that they do not win. This discharge damage is valuable as I can just go for an X-Scissor. Opponent ends up double shielding, really trying to protect the Sableye, but now I should just be in a winning position with Lokix. I can send in the Lokix. Even though they're going for foul play, Lokix is pretty glassy, so I am going to be shielding up the resisted move. And I decide to go for the X-Scissor. X-Scissor does have pretty solid damage for energy, and then I'm going to try and commit to a farm down. I need to leave with a ton of energy, because I'm going to need to make it to double Dark Pulse versus the Skarmory. They're going to be able to force the final shield with a foul play. In comes the Skarmory. I make it to the back-to-back Dark Pulses. Let's see, have I done enough counter damage that Dark Pulse can two-shot? The answer is yes. Lokix winning charge attack priority over the Skarmory. Dark Pulse picks up the KO, and we counter down the Sableye to take the Game 1 win. Lokix cannot catch a break on the leads, as now it leads into Talonflame. I'm going to save switch into Shadow Quagsire, and opponent is going to respond with Trevenant. This is another situation where Shadow Quag can definitely outperform the Whiscash. I really didn't like Quagsire in the Whiscash meta, because it just got crushed by Whiscash with the 50-50 Scald debuffs, but now that the Scald debuff is down to 30%, I feel like Shadow Quagsire does have a lot more play. I'm able to land the Stone Edge. Unfortunately, due to my opponent switching relatively quickly, I'm not going to be able to win the twos here. However, I should be able to build up to back-to-back Aqua Tails, and they are going to be just short of their next move. So the Shadow Claw that went through, they now have the Seed Bomb. They do win charge attack priority, so they have to throw instantly. So I'm going to save the move, catch onto Emolga. Initially, I did try a couple games with this same team, but with Mantine instead of Emolga, but I ended up not really liking it. I ended up vastly preferring Emolga because Emolga is a complete wall to energy from Gligar due to the fact that it has electric flying typing, and with the electric typing as well, it just ends up being a lot better of a core breaker. So Mantine's a lot stronger of a Pokemon than Emolga, but I ended up preferring the Emolga just from a team synergy perspective. They are going to be able to pick up the knockout with the Scald, but I should be in an okay spot because I do have energy available on Quag. Opponent is going to bank a Scald for later. Their Talonflame still one off the move, which means I can switch into the Quag, get the snipe with the Aqua Tail, the energy we saved from earlier coming in clutch. They get knocked out. In comes the Whiscash. Whiscash, unfortunately, not going to be able to make it to a Mud Bomb plus a Scald, which is what they would need to win. Mud Bomb KOs, Lokix gets the counter down, and we're able to take the win. Moving to the next match, we see a great lead Lokix for Shadow Magnezone. Opponent save switches into a Razor Leaf Tropius, and we already know we're facing one of them toxic teams. Now this should have a Wigglytuff in the back. It is the team that just gets triple destroyed by any one fire type. But the good news is we have very favorable alignment. But watch what I'm going to do here. I'm actually not going to KO them. I'm going to let them do a bunch more Razor Leaf damage, and I'm only going to KO them once they get close to their Leaf Blade, because I don't want to give the Magnezone farm. The Magnezone, I only want them to be able to get 1 volt switch of energy. So that way, they're not just able to force a shield with a Wild Charge without me first making it to an X-Scissor on charge attack priority. This is very important, because if they Wild Charge here, they have to shield back, or even though the X-Scissor is resisted, due to their heavily debuffed defense, they just lose the Pokemon. And now in the one shield, I click the switch button right away, so I do get the 0-turn switch. And Shadow Quag is going to be able to handle this Wigglytuff in the zero shield no problem, as Quag is just so spammy. That's one thing, is Lokix isn't the spammiest Pokemon around, so if you're going to run it, I do think that it is dramatically improved. It's probably one of the most improved Pokemon in this entire balance patch, but I still would not say that this makes it meta by any means. It's definitely going to be like a strong anti-meta slash spice pick, as there, we actually throw on very precise timing with the Stone Edge to make sure that the Charm That Sneaks doesn't go through, and that allows us to make it to the Aqua Tail, KO the Magnezone, and we're able to defeat that toxic team. We move to the next match, Lokix versus Skarmory. Skarmory is part of the reason why I did want to run the Dark Pulse over the Trailblaze, because I really wanted to have a move that could actually hit Skarmory. I'm going to commit the shield here as they fire off the Sky Attack, and then just look to massively overfarm. Opponent sends in a Shadow Quagsire. Quagsire will immediately be met with the Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse does a ton of damage. The good news is I can make it to the X-Scissor and force a shield from them before they're able to fire off their move. They just now have the Aqua Tail, which means if I switch into my Quag, then due to me getting the Mudshot Sneak, I'm going to be able to click this Aqua Tail immediately and be one Mudshot ahead of them making it to their next move. So now they have to give up the final shield if they want to preserve the Quagsire, and they decide to let that through. They could send back in the Skarmory, but Skarmory doesn't have an amazing matchup here. Skarmory is very reliant on landing charge attacks. I make it to the Stone Edge on charge attack priority. This won't knock out, but it will do a ton of damage, and now I have a choice to make. My opponent is going to be switching into their final Pokemon, so what do I want an energy advantage on? I decide Lokix, since Lokix pacing isn't the greatest. In the back, it's Gligar, and the good news is this is just a win. I am in a completely one position at this moment. I have previously tried Emolga with Aerial Ace, but I decided, you know what, I'm going to go with the recommended moveset of Acrobatics, and Acrobatics did actually come in handy. Like in a situation versus a Shadow Gligar, if I'm running something like Shadow Zapdos, I do need 2 Drill Packs. Whereas here, I'm only going to need 1 Acrobatics, and Acrobatics is going to be able to make this Gligar disappear from the field of play. I'm forced to commit my final shield on low HP, but I get the Acrobatics. Switch clock not yet up for the opponent. Acrobatics is going to pick up the KO. I send in the Lokix, and the opponent resigns the match to preserve that Skarmory on 1 HP. We see a terrible lead in the next match, Lokix versus Annihilate. Another reason why I like the Shadow Quagsire safe switch here is if you lead into Annihilate, then you can actually outpace them and make the Aqua Tail even with the 1-turn switch before they're able to make it to the move. And they send in Dugong, and this is worrying. Lately, every time I see Annihilate and Dugong, it's Bastiodon in the back. So I am going to be fighting for switch advantage. I am going to be playing my hardest here, trying to force alignment in this matchup because I'm going to need alignment if I want a chance to win this game, if the backline is what I'm predicting. So I fire off the Aqua Tail. It does not do enough, but I do get the farm down. That's very nice. I'm hoping that I'm still in a range where I can survive 5 counters. If I can survive 5 counters, then I'm in an incredibly good position. If I can't, then this could get a bit awkward. The first counter sneaks through. Can I live 4 more? I just cannot, and that's unfortunate. I send in a Molga, opponent will fire energy. I should survive a Shadow Ball, so I'm going to let this through. They end up baiting with the Night Slash. That works out for me. That is very okay. They're going to be firing off another charge attack. I think they're short. It is just going to be the Night Slash, but then they get bailed out with the Night Slash boost, and this is really bad. I think I'm actually going to get countered down here. Emolga's too frail. I am, so I switch, but it ends up being a catch. I would have just stayed in if I knew they were going to throw. Everything going wrong in this game. In the back, it's Skarmory. I was seeing ghosts. It wasn't even Bastiodon. Oh, man. If I just didn't play for Switch, Emolga sweeps that endgame. But lately, when I see that Annihilate Dugong pairing, it's always a Bastiodon in the back. So unfortunately, team reading can be very helpful, but this is a situation where unfortunately it actually works against me. I make the prediction as to what I think's in the back, but it's not accurate, and unfortunately, I do lose the game as a result. Moving to the next match, Lokix versus another Shadow Magnezone. Again, counter putting in so much work. Opponent sends out Skeledirge, and they are so weak to Mudboy leads. Oh my goodness, that is a massive surprise to see a Skeledirge save switch. I land the Aqua Tail. Even if they full send the Shadow Ball, I can Mudshot down here and survive it. The Shadow Ball does a ton of damage, don't get me wrong, but Shadow Quag gets that farm down and exits with energy to threaten whatever the opponent decides to send in. They send in Magnezone. Magnezone doesn't have to shield the Aqua Tail, but it does do quite a lot of damage. They actually decide to shield. That works out great for me. Look at these counters from Lokix. Lokix does not get same type attack bonus on counters, but it has a very high attack stat. It's very frail, but it has a very high attack stat. In the back, it's Azumarill, and I'm a little worried about my opponent potentially saving the shield for Magnezone and trying to sweep that way. They are 2 Volt Switches off of getting to a potential Wild Charge. I'm going to overfarm a ton with Emolga. If they no shield, I'm going to have to undercharge the next one, but they shield. And the moment they shield, they can't win the game anymore. So I'm now just in a completely one position now that they use the shield. They definitely should have saved the shield for Magnezone, and they would have had a better chance to win the game, because now I can just send in the Lokix, and here my opponent realizes that they have messed up, so it looks like they ended up just closing the app, basically. But at this point, whether they're in the game or not, shielding the Azumarill was the thing that lost them the game, because Lokix just has too much energy, and as it turns out, the Magnezone is in a range where 4 counters will KO, so they're actually unable to make it to a Wild Charge, even if they had stayed in the game and not just closed the app. We move to the next match. This is a terrible lead. Charjabug versus the Lokix. Honestly, I wasn't thinking about Charjabug a ton when I was game planning here. I make a catch on a Quag, which is nice, and let's see what they want to send to the Quagsire. They have a Poliwrath. I just can't win the game. I'm just instantly resigning there. That's like the worst case scenario you could see. Their team is super weak to a Gligar lead, and you know what? They didn't see a Gligar, so fair play to them. Lokix leading into a Dubwool, which is a very cool pick. They safe switched into Gligar. I could have potentially sent in the Emolga, and maybe I should have sent in the Emolga, but my gut instinct was to send in the Mudboy, so I sent in the Quag. I know that I do win the zeros no matter what. They go for the dig, and if they go for the dig, I can survive that and win zeros. They can shield if they want to for switch advantage, but if they do, I'm just Thunder Shocking them down. They end up just letting it go, so they want energy on the Dubwool. In comes the Dubwool, looking for the double kick down. I make it to the Aqua Tail, and I'm thinking, wow, did I get damage registration error? But look at this. No, I did not. I actually lived that double kick, so it was not the damage registration error. This energy lead is very awkward, because now we're going to see the limitations of Lokix. It's very frail. The body, look at that. That's a body slam. Dubwool doesn't even have a high attack stat, but that does so much damage. I will commit the shield. I cue a switch expecting my opponent to switch there, but they actually don't. So my prediction goes wrong. They farm up to a Wild Charge, so I am going to burn the final shield. And it is a Wild Charge. They're going to switch out. It's Quagsire in the back, and I'm going for a bait. They've saved their shields the whole game. They have to use them now, and I do get the call right. That's very important. I'm farming up, firing off the acrobatics on what would be charge stack priority, but my opponent is just going to farm past it. I'm farming up. I make the discharge. It ends up being charge stack priority. And throwing this move, I just want damage to try and put it into X Scissor range. They're going to be able to KO with the Stone Edge. They have overfarmed a little bit. And now we'll have to see, can Lokix KO with the X Scissor here, or will they make it to the move? X Scissor leaves them on 1 HP, but they didn't get there. Honestly, I'm not sure how they didn't get there. Maybe I miscounted, but you know what? We will happily take that win. Lokix versus Togedemaru. They safe switch into Shadow Gligar, and I'm going to respond again with the Quagsire. Quagsire is going to be hit with a, oh, that's a Night Slash. That is not an Aerial Ace. That's a pretty big surprise to see a Night Slash Gligar, but I guess it is early season there. The name does look a little bit familiar, though. I am going to shield this up because I will be able to outpace the Night Slash, which is quite nice, but then they get the boost. So we've had a boosting Annihilate and now a boosting Gligar. The bad luck has arrived. Oh my goodness. And those boosted wing attacks, oh, that's not ideal, as now I'm going to be able to make a Stone Edge versus the Trevenant, but I don't think I make an Aqua Tail as well. And that's the difference right there. Those couple boosted wing attacks that I took, I'm unable to make it to the next move. Shadow Ball connects. That does a ton of damage. In comes Togedemaru, and this is going to end up being a true 50-50. I throw the X Scissor just because I was behind by a turn, so that way they can't throw and deny a full sneak. But yeah, it's going to come down to a 50-50. I think I'm going to try and call the Fell Stinger bait, but it is going to be the Wild Charge, and that's going to be game over. So it was well played by my opponent, but unfortunately, the complicating factor of a Night Slash Gligar and then a boosting Night Slash Gligar resulted in a game over for me. Hopping into the final match, Lokix met with a familiar foe of Azumarill. I save switch into Shadow Quagsire. The Azumarill staying in this matchup, and they farm up quite a lot of energy. And the nice thing here by throwing the Stone Edge right now is they're forced to throw an alignment or go over 100. They send in Lickitung, and this is not off to an amazing start. I'm going to fire off the Aqua Tail, and this battle, if I remember correctly, does get quite strange. Because I make it to the Stone Edge, and then I think there was like something on my screen where I was only able to hit part of the bubbles, so I don't get the full Stone Edge damage, but then my opponent underestimates the spamminess of the Quagsire. Even with the half the Stone Edge damage plus 2 Aqua Tails actually KOs. And that is the most cursed mid-game I think I've ever seen in a game of GBL, but somehow we emerge from it in a pretty nice spot. In comes the Emolga. I'm just firing off the discharge instantaneously, forcing the shield since they have a ton of energy. They actually let that through. They have a Spark Lantern in the back. I can send in Lokix, and Lokix should just be in a winning position now. I fire off the X-Scissor that lands, and with that landing, the counters are just going to do too much damage, and the opponent is going to resign the match. All in all, Lokix is massively improved. It went from, I think, like rank 700 or something on the PvPoke rankings, and I actually do want to check where Lokix is ranked now. Lokix is up to 336. So Lokix, as I mentioned at the start, due to the fact that its stats are quite poor, and unlike something like a Typhlosion where it consistently has the 10-turn pacing, its pacing is going to be slower than that. Lokix definitely going to be like a viable Spice Mon, bordering on anti-meta, but I would argue more in the Spice tier of things. So it is a tremendous improvement over Bug Bite and Sucker Punch, but realistically, Lokix still probably going to be more of a mon for fun than for climbing, but I could definitely see down the road, there could be a limited meta or two where having a bug dark type with counter could just absolutely fry the competition. So if you have one, I do think it's worth TMing and holding on to, just because there could be future Great League limited metas where Lokix has a massive opportunity to shine. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.